Welcome to the Dudecast Extra. We are here to talk about a season finale of something and a season premiere of something. And I love the fact that we can say season finale and not series finale, because we know that there is obviously a season 2 of The Bad Batch. And this episode, for a while, I'll be honest, I was like, what's going on? And then they brought it home. And I'm like, okay. Now we're talking for a season.
It was intense. It
was action packed. Yeah. Of course, What If, and we actually go into What If knowing that there's a season 2 already announced of What If.
Yep. Oh, really?
Yeah. They already announced
Feige,
that.
I've got quotes from Feige. I can send them to you off air.
You guys just read your stuff. We're loosey goosey here. You guys can read your stuff as we get to that. But I did want to talk about the Visions trailer that just dropped earlier today. In fact, I think it's been a long day for me, so I'm just remembering that was today. Thank you, Roth, being in the chat, and Melissa. Don't get to see you often, so it's very good to see you in the chat, Melissa. It's awesome. I forgot to send Rhett his special curated "Hey, we've started" text, so he probably won't even be here. I mean,
don't worry, I'll send it. Mike,
yeah, you can let him know. You can let him know. But
I'm sorry, you mean noted fan of animation? Rhett?
Yes.
Yeah, noted fan of Ed. We're talking about three different animation. All animation
cartoons.
Visions, which look, I mean, and I don't mind saying this, anime's never really been my thing. I certainly appreciate anime. I've watched some anime stuff in the past. Fetmatic, I know, loves anime. And he's been recommending he's been recommending different anime over the years for me to watch, because I know that he is a huge anime fan. But I was really intrigued by the different styles of anime, because we're getting how many different episodes are we getting? Is it 10?
That's a good question.
Or it's like segments, not episodes, but it's one. Yeah. They're dumping it all in one day.
Yes,
but I can't remember how many.
Smaller, it's not going to be.
Yeah, they're vignettes. I mean, they're like shorts or whatever. But there was.
It's a bunch of studios. I didn't count how many.
I think it's
there
9.
Was some
is what
9.
Like.
9. Okay, There was definitely some Kurosawa vibes to the very first clip. I mean, very Kurosawa looking.
I mean, it's got a lot of very feudal Japan samurai influences, which is Kurosawa all day. Yeah.
And then there's
one would expect from anime.
Yes. There's even some Miyazaki type looking animation. I mean, with the fox creature and or whatever that, I don't know if it's a creature. I'm sorry. You can't call things in Star. If it's a sentient being, it's not a creature, I guess. But although Topps Digital Card Trader has made that mistake many a times, they used to call Dexter Jetster a creature, and he's not a creature; he's a sentient being. So it's I always thought that was funny. What did you guys think of that, Ryfen? Your thoughts on that trailer?
I've actually been into anime plenty of times in my life, so I just think it's a cool look at. I've seen a lot of reaction online to is this canon or is this not canon?
I don't know if they'll ever spell that out.
I would say it's probably not canon, but it still looks like a lot of fun that these creators got to go in and do whatever they wanted in the sandbox and create their own characters, and it's not just Luke and Leia in anime. It's kind of their own unique takes on the Star Wars universe. Yeah. So I really like
and to your point, I love the fact that we're getting new characters. They're not just, like you said, they're not just going back and using existing characters, although we're getting some of that. But I mean, there are obviously a bunch of new characters as well. Earl, what did you think?
I mean, look, we know some of the ground basis for the original Star Wars is from the Japanese. Some of those myths, the Kurosawa myths, maybe the Hidden Fortress was the one.
Hidden Fortress for sure.
So, I mean, it's just circling back, right? And letting some of these Japanese artists do sort of a homage, to Star Wars. So I think it's really cool. I think it's neat. I agree. I don't think I would want it to be canon necessarily, but I think enjoying it. I really liked when they did the anime thing for the,
well, they had on YouTube. They even had I think it was Galaxy of Adventures was kind of an anime style. where they were doing anime of the trilogy. And well, I don't know if they ended up doing the whole thing, but they would do vignettes and it was anime style.
Yeah.
That's where I got that gif of Luke and his shirt coming off with the lightsaber, and I said, "My body is ready." That's where I got that gif. So, remember that one. So it's that they have. It's not like Lucasfilm has never played in this realm before. So yeah, I mean, but you're right. Several homages going on here, but Nick,
what does he think?
I know you love it. You've got some info for us also, I think.
Well, yeah. Well, and I'll say this, and like you, like I won't say I'm familiar with anime in the sense of like I know the different styles and different whatever. It's just never been something that I've been into. I respect it, and I know it is very popular in many, many parts of the world, including where we live. So I'm excited to learn more about it through these episodes. Hopefully, maybe even start to figure out what the different styles are and some of that kind of stuff. So I like that opportunity. Also thinking about it in a canon, non-canon, standpoint, to me, this feels that exact thing that we've kind of heard when they introduced new canon and legends. And a lot of the idea that was floated was think about the legend stuff as if these were the stories that were being told around a campfire in the Star Wars universe. Like I like the idea that these were stories that, kids were telling each other or, kind of legend, that kind of thing. Like it could fall into something like that. But as far as kind of the info goes, we got the trailer drop today. StarWars.com actually put out the English and Japanese dub cast lists for each of the episodes.
Which was very cool. Very cool.
And I've heard, and I will definitely want to check it out in the original Japanese with some subtitles on, maybe even to get the first experience that way
as well. Yeah.
But I do want to run through just really quickly some of these names in these different episodes. We've got Lucy Liu in The Duel. In Tatooine Rhapsody, we have Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Bobby Moynihan, Tamir Morrison back as Boba Fett,
That's
Shelby
awesome.
Young, and Mark Thompson, recent guest on podcast.
I know, right? Yeah.
In the episode of The Twins, Neil Patrick Harris and Allison Brie. The Village Bride, we have Christopher Sean, who was in Resistance.
Yeah.
We have
Kazuto Ono or whatever.
Yeah, Kaz.
He was Kaz.
We have Ninth Jedi. We have Kamiko Glenn, Simu Liu, Masioka, Michael Sinterklaas. In TOB1, we have Kyle Chandler. A little Friday Night Lights for you.
Yeah, I love that.
In the episode The Elder, David Harbour is listed. Also James Hong, and if anybody has seen any movie in their life, James Hong has been in all of them, and he's always fantastic.
Yes.
We have, and then in the last one called Akakiri, we have Henry Golding, George Takei, and Keon Young. And Keon Young, for those of you Deadwood watchers, was Mr. Wu, but he was also Commander Sato in Rebels.
Yep.
So he's got some other, Star Wars cred. So it's really exciting to see all those different actors, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to watching these and trying to pick the voices out and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
I skimmed through the cast list, but you said Simu Liu?
Yes.
Wow. So Shang-Chi himself is in an episode.
Correct.
That's right.
In fact, that's in the episode called The Ninth Jedi.
Wow.
Yeah, Simu Liu.
Well, I mean,
that's also Masioka, who we have Heroes fame.
Exactly, yeah. And I love that they are not just leaving Visions at this only. I mean, because they've got the novel tie-in, which I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago. With the novels, I usually just get the Audible. But that had such a cool cover. I actually pre-ordered a physical copy of the novel as well, just because it's got that cool, like, Japanese artwork. And I just loved the cover of that novel. So I was like, you know what? I am actually going to buy that novel. And I'd actually sit down and read it instead of just listen to it. That would be like groundbreaking for me.
Yeah. And even on this StarWars.com article, if anybody wants to go and find it, there's some great little art clips. And one of them from that episode called The Twins that has Allison Brie and Neil Patrick Harris. It has a very... it's the two sides fighting on a Star Destroyer. The left side is red. The right side is blue. Kind of the lightning, it's just that classic divided Star Wars poster artwork kind of look, which I think is so indicative, certainly, of like good and bad, light and dark, all that kind of stuff. But there's several good shots on here. So if anybody wants to check that out, it's on StarWars.com.
Yeah, that's right. And I was going to try and actually do the trailer, but I'm afraid it would get us kicked off of YouTube because they're very picky about copyright and stuff. So I didn't want to play the trailer because it is a very cool trailer. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely go check it out. And I'm with you guys. I think I might watch the subtitled version first. Just to be pure about it. I'm not trying to, like, of course, gatekeep anybody and say don't watch the dubbed only. Who cares? You watch whatever you want. But
yeah, I mean, this is also a little bit different because in this case, this is not a show being originally created in Japan for Japanese audiences and then being brought over to the U.S. with people who rewrite the scripts totally in English.
Right. That's true.
This is kind of a joint production. So.
Yeah, exactly. Roth. Yeah, I know Roth.
Yeah. It's the music that would do us in. I've discovered that if you can get away with stuff with clips and audio or dialogue, you're usually fine, but it's the music, and especially with all that Star Wars heavy music on there, you'd get flagged in a heartbeat.
Nice. And and it's funny, earlier you mentioned like the different types of anime. Like I've even seen some people claim that Mizuyaki isn't actually anime, that anime is much more rigid and it's not. And Fatmatic might be able to explain some of that in the chat, like why some people would say Mizuyaki is not true anime. It's interesting. I'm
gonna be a jerk. Anime is Japanese animation. If you are a Japanese animator, that is anime.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I understand that, but I've seen some people even say that Mizuyaki is not anime for some reason. I don't know. I don't have any idea why they would say that, but because I don't know enough about it. Like I've watched some of the classics. I've watched Akira and some of those classic anime things, and I really enjoy them. But sometimes
I liked Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan, and there is a lot of people that swear by Attack on Titan.
Man, it's so good. I just haven't gotten into the other seasons, but the first
maybe that's like somebody here just saying that Filmation is an animation. Listen, pal, we grew up with Filmation in the
80s. That's right. Gumby's not animation. It's claymation. Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that, and I hope that they do more things like this because I think it's a good sort of like break between shows. Have something like this. And what's interesting to me is we haven't heard much about what this Droids animated thing is that's still supposed to come out. I thought it was coming out this year, but apparently they have decided to push that because they have not done any press about it at all, unless that's one of the things they're saving for Disney Plus Day, which is November 12th. So there's going to be a lot of announcements that day, I think. So maybe they are saving it for that, but it's good to have these like little filler things, in between seasons of Bad Batch and whatever live action thing we're getting.
Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to have
And what if it's going to be running until like October or whatever?
So. Right. And again, I mean, if you didn't hear us talk about it, the way that they're doing Visions is just dropping it all at once because they're short episodes. So
they're like a little quick.
Yeah, so Visions is a little quick. Some of them might be longer than others, but I mean, the way that they're doing it, rather than having episodic,
so we'll just have to break down the whole season.
Well, we'll just talk. Yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out. I mean. Yeah, we will figure
I imagine the episodes won't be that long, but
no, I don't think they're going to be that long either. It might take up
number 9,
an hour of your time exactly. So let's do it. Let's talk about episode 16, Camino Lost, which is so sad. Camino is definitely lost. There is no more Camino, or no more Tapioca City.
That's right. No more Tapioca City.
There's still Camino, but no more Tapioca City. Tapoca, sorry.
They can rebuild.
Are there any left besides Lamasu?
Yeah.
Or Nala Se,
what's the point?
Exactly.
Out there.
Is she the last Kaminoan? I mean, is that what we're to believe here? I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that's...
because they said they didn't have a need for politicians, did they?
Right. I mean, and what about all the technicians and all the... I mean, that's crazy to think about that.
Well, they had talked about how they had, cleared it out. They had rounded everybody up and, Tapioca City was empty. But it also begs the question too. I mean, obviously, we got earlier in this season. There's other cloning outposts. The one that they went to, in the episode with Finnick and that stuff. But also just even on the planet, like what other parts of the planet were there Kaminoans hanging out? And, you know, at one point, I think one of the Bad Batch guys says, where are the other Star Destroyers? Are they on the other side of the planet? Maybe, you know, slagging the rest of everything. But all we get at the end is Nala Se. So we really don't know, you know, how much is left. What is there besides her?
Yeah. I mean, and it's just one of those things that I don't think, especially in the episode with Cad Bane, I mean, they didn't make it very clear what planet they were on. I didn't feel like they were on Kaminoa or Camino. I'm sorry. So
Cad Bane? You mean?
Yeah, I didn't feel.
Oh, I didn't think that was on Camino, was it?
Yeah, I think that was on a completely different planet, is what I gathered from that particular episode. So I thought that was interesting that they could have those things on different planets altogether. I didn't know that their spread was that. Are they that wide-reaching or whatever? So who knows? Who knows if there's more out there? They obviously only wanted the one, but let's dive into the episode. Like you mentioned, Earl, action-packed. I mean, nonstop, action-packed, which is great. Like I said, lots of peril,
falling buildings. You know,
lots of falling buildings.
Yeah, great animation though. The coming off the
so
building,
good.
And
great music, great animation. Man. I mean, all of that looked great.
My one annoyance, I'm trying to watch it in the daytime on my iPad, and it is so dark.
Yeah,
I have to take my blanket and put it over me just to be able to see what's happening in the episode. It's kind of like that episode of Game of Thrones, season 8, episode 3 or whatever. When it's so dark, during the whatever.
It's getting to the point where if you don't have a newer TV on some of this stuff, that it's hard to watch it. I mean, it's like they're saying you better go buy yourself a 4K TV if you want to be able to see this.
I don't know if it's the case, but also I know that Winterfell.
Winterfell,
they grade that stuff for HDR nowadays, which is much higher resolution, much higher brightness, that kind of stuff. So I do wonder if that kind of affected some of the way we view things now,
right,
on standard TVs and standard iPads and stuff like that.
I totally feel you. I don't want to say that I was watching it in my office at work, but we'll just say I was watching it somewhere like my office at work. Yeah, maybe with a wall full of windows to the bright and shiny outside on my phone. So it was real dark where I watched it too.
I mean, I usually try and watch it. I've got one 4K TV, so I usually try and watch it first on that, and then if I have to, if I'm trying to catch it before the show, I'm on my cell phone or something. And actually, I have a Google Pixel, and if you turn the brightness all the way up on it, it's not that bad of a viewing experience. In all honesty, it can handle lights pretty well, actually. So
just don't tell David Lynch you're watching it on your phone.
Oh, I know. He might get upset with me. There's a lot of that going on in Hollywood. What was it? Denis Villeneuve today was like, I can't believe you're going to watch my movie at your house or something ridiculous like that. I mean,
but Denis right.
He is right. But
go to the theater
house.
Of course he's right, but I mean, you shouldn't.
I thought they had decided not to put it on HBO Max.
No, they bought out. They bought out the rights for it.
I don't think they have a choice.
Yeah.
Hey, we do have an update on Rhett. He is rehearsing for his community theater.
That's right. It's community theater time.
Community theater.
Yeah.
Well, he is acting.
Acting, as John Lithgow would say. Acting. Yes, we're all old and we know that
John
reference. Lovitz, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't remember.
No, I meant
sorry, Garrison, that was before your time.
Yeah, Lovitz was. Your dad may have shown that to you. Yeah, exactly.
It's an SNL thing.
I think I've seen it before.
But. Yeah, no, it's pretty common. So Nick, dive into the episode. We haven't even really talked about what took place in the episode. Walk us through some of it at least.
Yeah, and we get the continuation of what we get last week, which is they're trapped in Topoka City. The Empire is, bombing it into smithereens. They've evacuated. They know they're in there, but and what's his name? The
Rampart?
military guy? Rampart. Yeah. They know that Crosshair's in there, but he's like, I don't care. They've kind of done. They're done with clones. Essentially, is what he's saying. Yeah. And so they're trapped. They're trying to figure out how do they get back to the secret landing pad. So they're working their way through. They're dragging. Initially, Crosshair is unconscious from the way everything wrapped up before. Bring him along. That whole deal. He comes back, and just talking about visually, and I know this has come up as a joke a little bit, but like big Poseidon Adventure vibes in this episode of Bad Batch. Underwater and tubes bursting, and the sea creature that comes by at one point. Of course, that also gave me some Phantom Menace vibes when they're in the Jar Jar undersea travel. And all
that is the first thing I thought of.
There's always a bigger fish.
Yeah, but overall, it's them trying to get out. It's them trying to figure out how do they get out of there. And the stakes are, and this was the interesting part about it, that after last week's part 1 finale, everybody, myself included, were like, well, if that was the first half, the second half has to be like something crazy is going to happen. Like Boba Fett's going to show up and turn into Darth Vader wearing a lizard hat or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
There wasn't. We didn't lose any to Bad Batch. We didn't lose Omega. We didn't, none of these things happened.
Even AZ made it.
Even
AZ made it.
Yeah. Even the robot made it, which seemed like the easy way out of that.
Yeah. I almost got mad that was going to be the death. I was like, oh, come on.
I mean, yeah. There was a moment.
For a minute, I got really nervous. That
there was a moment.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was going to say.
So what I think, kill Omega?
The feeling, the tension was really well built throughout this with, Omega going down in that tube and being trapped, and AZ trying to get them out and propel them out and running out of battery. Like it really did. I'm not going to say I was fully holding my breath, but you had those moments where you're like, okay, there's a little sigh of relief. It really was. For something that I was sitting there going, it's just a cartoon. Like I was invested. Like I needed to see them get to the platform and get out and get to the other side.
Yeah. The good point about this point in time in the universe is that the tension can be built up for these characters to die soon, because it's such a dark point in the universe. It's such a dark turn in the universe that we actually
seems expected so they can take time getting there.
Yeah, we actually do fear that these characters could just die. Especially in a
finale. I mean, as a viewer, what comes in the future. I mean, obviously, and so you're like, when they've got to kill all these characters off, right? I mean, so you never know when it's going to come. And I mean, we've said it all season, but the Kiner family, father and sons, are so good at building that tension musically, and that was definitely throughout this episode, because there was many moments where I did not know what was going to happen. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. I was wanting something to happen, though. I mean, I kept wanting something to happen.
Well, and when it ended, I was a little initially let down that we didn't get some big, a little bit more cliffhangery, a little bit more, the big thing. But of course, in retrospect and looking at it and looking at some parts of it afterwards, I've come all the way back around, and we'll talk about those reasons in a minute. What I was going to also say, just the other part that I think really drove this episode was the Crosshair story, because the other big thing that we have been driving and pushing was, is Crosshair going to be redeemed? Is he going to realize they didn't leave me behind? They came back, and he never was. Like, when this thing ends, they still part ways. And there's so many good little one lines. And of course, the one that stands out to me the most is when I think Tech is talking, or no, maybe Echo is talking to him. And he says, just because I understand you doesn't mean that I agree with you. Because they're having that big,
that was good.
Good and evil and philosophical and good soldiers follow, that whole thing. And some of that, like a lot of the more modern Star Wars stuff, is very prescient in the everyday life stuff that we all encounter in a lot of different arenas. So I did like that they drove that, and they stuck with Crosshair saying, no, this is me. This is who I am.
Yeah. He said that, but they also set it up kind of in a way that, I mean, he just saved the life of AZ and Omega. So there is a chance for him to be redeemed. You could always hold on to that hope.
And since we know we have a second season, there's time for them to keep fishing that line.
Yeah, Tech is the one who said that that line.
Yeah. Thanks, Fetmatic. Yeah,
according to Fetmatic. Now, we don't want to say that either Nick or Fetmatic. I don't know who's right.
No, I'll say it.
I remember
what Fetmatic says is gospel.
I remember Tech saying.
So.
Fetmatic's right, because in full disclosure, I've only seen this episode once. So
yeah, I've seen it twice, but just like very recently. So it's.
I remember Tech saying it because it was a very Tech thing, because he was explaining what Crosshair's beliefs were and what his side was.
Yeah.
And he wasn't saying that was right. Yeah. But it was also displaying him as being smart.
Right.
With Crosshair, I still think I was intrigued, and I guess we'll go ahead and, I mean, we're jumping all over the place in the episode, but I was intrigued by his final decision to just stay on Camino, because everything that led up to that point was, pretty much the Empire not caring a lick about him, and yet it still seems that he has bought into whatever dogma that they have fed him.
Good soldiers follow orders.
Yeah, good soldiers follow orders, but it's even beyond that now, because if we are still to believe that the chip is out, which there was some stuff on Twitter this week,
and
there was an interview that was on StarWars.com that one of the people that were part of the show said that the idea was the chip is out. Now, I don't know if I still believe that, but I mean,
believe it at this point.
But
he was rubbing his head at one point, though.
Yeah, if he's got the free will, if he's got total free will and he's deciding to stay with the Empire after what they just did, it's very confusing. I mean, I'm just like, what's this dude? This dude is very into the Empire.
Even to be left on that platform, like his only ride out of there leaves.
I mean,
that was my question. Is like, is he just gonna like press a button and the Empire's gonna come for him? Like, why is he just standing there?
They're just gonna show up and shoot it. It's like,
I mean,
down there still alive.
Some of that didn't quite make sense from a storytelling standpoint to me. But maybe they'll pay it off in some way. I mean, I don't know.
I did like that tension though when he had the gun pointed down and you thought,
yes.
Oh man, is he gonna shoot? And then he saves her and he's like, now we're even, or whatever he said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was more about that for him.
Which again has a twinge of, he's saying that I only did that because you saved my life, but he didn't have to do that.
No.
Right.
That shows that there's something there.
Yeah.
Well, there's a sense of morality, at least. Yeah. I mean, he's got that sense of morality, and they're obviously all brothers. I mean, and so he
was having to be reminded of that. But
yeah exactly.
So are we surprised that Omega is older than?
Yes.
That was an interesting find.
She's older in the sense of actual years, but not in the sense of her lifespan.
Yes. Right. Or delayed lifespan or something. Or
Yes. Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, they were aged rapidly, and she was not.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because they want to get those soldiers out and moving. To fight.
Sure. Oh, sure. Yeah.
They didn't really have this onus for her, so she could. What do you think she was being groomed for? Like, maybe to help the scientist, or?
That's what I don't know. We're not. That's a question that we're not really quite sure of. Other than Lama Sue at some point during the season said we need her blood or something like that. I mean,
maybe just a secret backup of Jango Fett's code.
Yeah, I always just took it as their number one assistant, but if they need the sample, she's right there.
Yeah,
right.
One of the sort of things I watched on YouTube was the guy said that they were trying to find a longevity cloning system for Palpatine so that it could extend his life or something. I mean,
makes sense.
That's an interesting thought, but
I mean,
it's all speculation, of course.
All of that's coming. I mean,
it's all on the table.
They have really set up that a lot of what season 2 is going to be about is this whole cloning concept. I mean, and they're tying everything together, and I like that. I mean. Even the logo on the person that came out to talk to Nala Se was the same logo Pershing had.
Was it? I didn't even notice that.
It was the exact.
I thought she looked cloning. I thought her uniform looked like Pershing's uniform, kind of.
Right, and it was the one on the side,
like
which is
the like
cloning guild or whatever it is.
It's all part of the Palpatine contingency plan. Yep, it's
well,
all
and on that note, and if I can go down this path for just a minute, Michael,
do it.
It is interesting because there have been some who have talked about, this season of Bad Batch, they've had some fun moments. We've gotten Cad Bane, we've gotten more Finnick, we've gotten some fun little, peaks along the way, but there have been a decent amount of Star Wars fans who were just like, what are we doing here? What's, the farther it got along that we didn't have Boba Fett show up, that we didn't have.
It's not advancing.
Yeah, it just, it felt like, is it advancing, especially before we knew there was a second season. When you got that reveal, that, of course, means there's more runway ahead.
Yeah.
But what it shows, and I do have to shout out my good friends David and Timothy Drennan. Timothy had a lot to do with this. They have a TV or a podcast called As Father and Son, and you can find them on Twitter at AsFaz92. They put up a thread yesterday, I think it was, that I'm just going to run through really quick because it's the connecting points to all of the stuff we've gotten up through the sequel trilogy, including Mando, including that. So this is what he says. He says, what is so excellent about post Rise of Skywalker Star Wars is the thing that so many people get stuck on, and we've all done it. Somehow Palpatine returns. That one line opens the crawl, opens the whatever. He says, Disney's telling us, Star Wars is telling us, but they're taking their time. We're being told how Palpatine returned, and these little bits all through Clone Wars. So he says, could it have been done more smoothly in the movie? Sure. We're of the opinion that the main thing we'd change about Rise of Skywalker was the runtime. Give it another 30 minutes, give us an hour, give us some more to develop it. But what Star Wars has always done was give you an adventure that leaves threads, which he's exactly right. Look at all the things we love in Star Wars, whether it's Boba Fett and Jedi getting knocked into the Sarlacc pit. There's a thread there that for years we've all gone, he's got to still be alive. He's still got to be there. Like, there's a thing here. He said it's the threads that we as fans love. They open the galaxy for more stories to be explored, and Palpatine's return is a thread that does not need a short, simple explanation. In fact, just telling us he's returned through the saga itself was maybe the right way to do it because it poses a big question. A question that takes years to answer, the same way George Lucas did it. That's the Star Wars way. Give us an adventure, wait years to give us explanations. The movie started originally with episode 4. Like, we didn't get it at the beginning. We didn't get it. All right, here's all the backstory. Here's all the bits.
And it wasn't even episode 4 until 81.
Correct. Yeah. Until the next one came.
Yeah.
And so he says, because from the first time we saw the Kaminoan symbol, the cloning symbol pop up in Mandalorian, right around the release of Rise of Skywalker, they've been laying that groundwork. He said, and I think this week we got the closest to a bold declaration that we've had yet. He said, that's another Star Warsy thing. Music tells us stuff. And this is where we come to when they land at this facility at the end. Nala Se is walking up. The scientist is walking out. The first notes of Rey's theme are playing right there in that moment. And I didn't catch it the first time. And
I didn't either. It took me a second time.
Rey's
theme.
And
so it says, he says, and guys, that's Rey's theme. He said, the Empire has plans for a cloning expert, ? Of course they do. They told us that 2 years ago. Now we see where that started. It's all about the long game. He said, and let's talk about the connective threads. Omega is the last of Jango's DNA, but modified. She's the result of an experiment with cloning, and she's the last of a line. Rey is the last of Palpatine's DNA, but different. She's the result of an experiment with cloning. So he says, for them to hit us with that theme says to me they're confirming what we've suspected, and they're telling us where to be looking with where they're going, and we need to let them. And so that was kind of his plea and wrap up. And then he said, please, Bad Batch, go where you want to. Even if we're wrong about everything we said, we'll still be here. And I loved the way that he wrapped that thread up, because we all can come up with conspiracy theories. We can all come up with, I had theories that it was going to be Boba showing up to rescue them at the end. And we all and it didn't happen, but guess what? I'm not pissed off about it. It's fine. In fact, the more it goes on, the more I'm excited to go, reading his thread, talking to some of my other friends, like, gave me more hope and excitement for season 2. But I do love, and it's a very Filoni, Disney, Star Wars, Marvel-y kind of thing to go, here's some big chunks, and watch what we do in between all of those big chunks. And one day you're going to look back at all of this and see how it's all connected. So I really just want to shout out David and Timothy for putting that together, because it really did.
That's impressive.
In processing this episode. And you can go find that thread on Twitter, and you can play the clip, and it has the Ray's theme right there. It's slowed down just a little bit.
Wow.
But it's really, really great.
I know for a lot of people, the Clone Wars helped people appreciate the prequels more.
Oh, sure.
I hope that these future shows, Mando and Bad Batch, help people appreciate at least some elements of the sequel trilogy more than they did as they become more fleshed out through these kinds of things.
And I'd much rather them. And now that we've got Disney Plus, Lucasfilm has the time to do this. Let it play out slowly. I mean, at this point, give us the threads to keep us interested and keep us coming back. Like, give us Ray's theme at the end of season 1 of the Bad Batch to have us pumped for season 2.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that I saw on social media that I didn't think of, but at the same time, it makes sense that this was kind of like really the end of the prequel era. Like, this episode sort of kicks off what we call, the original trilogy era, the Empire, and so the rise of the Empire. So now we're really going to get to see that, and this was kind of like a goodbye to that prequel era, which a lot of people are kind of bummed out about that. But I don't think that this is I'm sure that there's going to still be things that we can go back to that they'll show us. I mean, this is not the very end of the prequel.
You don't want to do that
but
too much, though.
This is true. I mean, the dark times. That's right.
The dark times are coming.
That's right. That's right.
Well, speaking of the dark times, do we need to point out the other important nod that we got in the concept art of the mountain that shows up at the end of this episode?
Oh yeah, Mount Tantus, right?
Mount Tantus.
Yeah.
Yes, as a very self-professed lover of the original Thrawn trilogy, Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and Last Command, I had the thought as they flew in, I was like, oh, look, there's some sort of base built into a mountain. We just dealt with cloners. Like, it was there, but I didn't really connect it. And then when that tweet showed up online, and it was the art and the concept art and like the design, I forget what they're called, like storyboards essentially, and it has the worthy inspiration for the costumes, because one, you had the clone commando that was listed as a Royal Imperial Guard. And so that was a fun little like, wait, those guys used to be red and look different, but we've changed the clone commanders. But that piece of artwork for that mountain said Mount Tantus, and it said Wayland, and those are direct, no questions about it. Yep, we're gonna get some extra voweled omegas, and like so to get that nod towards that series, because that's where the crazy clone Jedi Master was hiding out, and that was a part of Palpatine's cloning program back before the new canon of trying to keep himself alive. He's always had a contingency. That's why I always loved him being the big bad at the end of Rise of Skywalker, was because from the beginning this made sense.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
No.
Anyhow, and so I was never mad at that choice. I thought it made the most sense, honestly, because everything we've ever seen him in, whether it's, have you ever heard the tale of Darth Plagueis, or have you ever, like, he's always been obsessed with
eternal life,
magic, dark science, the whole thing, living forever.
Joris
Kaboth, or whatever his name was.
So to get those little nods to that, even if it didn't go any farther than that, just made me as giddy as I could be.
Oh yeah.
But I think with the cloning stuff showing up, meeting those cloners with the same patch that we see in Mandalorian, like, we're heading in a certain direction. And I do want to throw out one other plug for our friend Pete from Around the Galaxy. Pete has a post that I know he is composing right now, and he has a really interesting theory about what this may all mean and what it could potentially, and again, it's fan theory, it's fun, but just from what I've heard, I'm really interested in it. So follow ATGcast on Twitter. I'm sure he'll drop that sometime soon, but I'm not going to tease any of it. I'm not going to say any of it.
Yeah, not only follow ATG Cast for that reason, but also because the next episode he's dropping is Garrison's dad, Scott.
This is correct.
Oh, that's a first. Garrison's dad,
right.
Scott. Awesome.
That's right. Garrison's dad, not
Can't
Scott's
tell you how
son,
many times
Garrison.
around town. You're Scott's son.
We're turning a page here, Garrison.
Yeah,
you are Gar.
You've made the big time.
It happened in class. The teacher called out my name today, and the kid next to me, are you related to Scott?
Really?
Yeah.
You're like, I mean, there's not that many Ryphons in town, so yeah.
I just like, yes, he's my dad. I've been listening to him since I was 12.
That's awesome. Local radio legend, Scott. Right. That's great. No, I mean, and I just and I lost my train of thought, but
sorry.
I do no. I do love that they're going to tell this story. Oh, I know what I was going to say. It's that what if that we never thought we were going to get in Star Wars. Like, what if they did take threads from the Thrawn trilogy? And they've started doing that for a while now.
Yeah.
What if we got Luke?
What if? I mean, what if we got Luke?
What if Luke is the one that showed up to get Baby Yoda at the end of Mandalorian? I'm just saying.
Would be mind blown. So yeah,
trying to get that baby for 2 seasons. What if Luke is the way they did it?
I know, right? That'd be creepy. That would be creepy.
If there's a clone and the clone is a good guy, what painting does Thrawn look at to fight?
Oh, I know, right? What piece of art does he? Because he is very much he's almost like Taskmaster in the sense that he can take the traits.
That's actually a great point. Yeah,
I mean, he's almost like analogy. That in the art that he studies. He's learning the fighting styles and learning about his enemies and stuff like that. So
yeah.
He's the Taskmaster of the Star Wars universe. But yeah, I mean, all of these things that, and you know, something really good, and I keep talking about Garrison's dad, Scott, that a point that I liked that Scott made during this interview, and I'm spoiling the interview with Pete that's coming out, but just, and I'm not totally saying the exact same thing that Scott said, but the fact that we're getting some usage of the expanded universe, which so many people decried as being taken away from them. Right. You know, there was that group of people that was so upset about the expanded universe going away. And it never really does go away, though, because think about the guy that's kind of at the helm of everything right now. That is Dave Filoni. He was a huge fan.
He knows
of all those things.
He is a huge fan of all those things. And you've got guys that have been with that company a long time, like Pablo Hidalgo and the Holocron Keeper. I can't remember. Leland Shee. Those guys have been around in that company since the 90s. You know, Matt Martin, who's a huge fan of that stuff too. Right, he's newer, but yeah, all those guys are very well versed in all of that stuff, obviously, as part of their job requirement. And so they're pulling little things out of the expanded universe. So it never really has gone away. I mean,
the expanded universe was never G canon, though, right?
Not really. No, it wasn't. Not George Lucas canon. No. I mean, he was never. He rumored to always hate the idea of Mara Jade. Yeah. I mean, you know.
In fact, if Lucas had come back and done the sequel trilogy himself, I bet that stuff would have been thrown out too. Then
maybe. I mean, who knows?
You can't leave that stuff in place.
That's true. That's true. But
there's some really great stories out there, and I'm trying to remember now. The big ones, Kevin Anderson. That was who it was. Kevin J. Anderson. A ton of those. Kevin J. Anderson, again, plug for Pete and Around the Galaxy. Go back and find his Kevin J. Anderson episode of Around the Galaxy from last summer, I think it is. There are some really wild stories about the time period when all those there was no story group. There was no group of people like they were writing books and turning them in and like, hey, can you do 2 more? Like it was very awesome. Wild West. And so you do get these moments of, do these things lined up and you have, some of them are really bad and some of them are, tons and tons of fun. But like, just the number of authors that were out there at that point, because you had Zahn, you had Kevin Anderson, you had Matthew
Stackpole.
Michael Stackpole.
Yeah.
Matthew, what's his name that wrote Attack of the Clones novelization? Yeah, Matt Stover. Like,
did John Jackson Miller write any novels?
Yes, John Jackson Miller wrote EU stuff.
Yeah.
There's all those guys, and even what's her name?
Well, it was Karen Travis who that went bad eventually, but I mean, there
were several, several ladies that wrote too.
Yeah,
but all those books, like A.C. Crispin, Fat
Medic,
was another great one.
Fat Medic, yep.
All those people, and it really was just like everybody write some Star Wars stuff, and we'll see what happens. Like it's great to listen to Kevin Anderson talk about, what was going on. It really is. I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff, anyhow. So I encourage anybody to check that out if you're interested in that behind the scenes.
They were not only throwing the spaghetti at the wall; it didn't matter if it didn't stick. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were just throwing it all
at the floor. It was still fine.
It was just anything. That's how you get Courtship of Princess Leia and stuff like that.
Yes.
Oh man,
the Yuzong Vong.
Yeah, oh man, that was such a long series.
I mean the Borg. Aren't they the Borg?
Well, they're basically the Borg, but in a more anyway.
Sorry, I'm crossing the streams here.
No, you're fine. So yeah, I mean, any final points on what ended up to me being a really good season of television with the Bad Batch? Any final thoughts before we jump into What If?
Honestly, my biggest, and I'm just choosing to go first because you didn't ask me, and that's what I do.
No. Go for it.
My big three is good emotional storytelling, especially early on, like those parental dad moments. Again, as a dad of 4 daughters, like there's some moments early on when she runs out into the field at Cut and Sue's house, and hit Cut's like they don't know what they're doing. Like all those parental moments, you don't have to go back there. I'll never make all that stuff hit me as a parent. And then the other two things are just how beautiful that show was and the music. Like those things for me, the stories and the other little fun stuff along the way is awesome. Yeah, but I've never been as impressed with animation in my life as I have been watching these 16 episodes.
Agree. Totally agree. Yeah, Ryfin, any final thoughts of the season?
I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to season 2 even more. I agreed with Nick that towards the end of the episode I was kind of like, that was all right. And then, but when it cut to the Lama Su stuff and them going to I didn't know what the place was. You guys actually explained that to me.
Yeah.
But that piqued my interest a lot because I knew that it was hinting towards cloning. With the person that kind of looked like Pershing, and they bring in Lama Su. So, of course, they're hinting towards cloning. So, yeah, that was probably the best part of the finale to me.
Yeah. Dr. Earl, you haven't said much during this. I know all of us have been talking way over you, but, I mean, any final thoughts of the season?
No, I mean, it was a fine season. I do look forward to seeing some kind of yeah, I agree. There were some high emotional moments. There were some great connectors with other stories, some Rebels connectors. There's some, like I said, we're moving out of the clone era into this era of, the middle trilogy. But I do look forward to seeing where this goes. I think I'm glad there's going to be a second season.
Yeah, very much. I think one thing and this was something that I was thinking about while I was watching throughout the season. I think one thing that a lot of viewers struggle with nowadays is the time that Lucasfilm and Disney is choosing to take to build these character moments. I think we're so spoiled in sometimes the ability to binge a show and get to know a character really quickly,
or watch a 2-hour movie,
or watch
the whole story.
You get right. I mean, but just in the sense like Netflix, I think. And I like a lot of stuff on Netflix, but I think Netflix, especially like if you're talking a genre show like Stranger Things,
payoff.
We got to know those characters very quickly in less amount of episodes, and for Lucasfilm to be bold enough to say we're giving you 16 episodes.
Yeah,
episode 1.
16.
Yeah, episode 1 75 minutes long, and then 15 episodes after that. And we're going to take our time getting to know these characters, whether you like it or not as a viewer. Yeah, I think it's a bold choice. I mean,
the Marvel shows are 6 episodes and about an hour long. Yeah, so it's a very different approach. Yeah.
I'll be really interested to see if they do the same thing for season 2. I mean, I'm not saying that they're needing to learn any lessons and have less episodes, but there is a way to tell a more concise story while at the same time getting to know the characters. But, you know, now that we've taken the time with 16 episodes to get to know them better, maybe they can do it in less. Who knows? I mean, and there's obviously a plan. We don't know if there's going to, I mean, a lot of times with these animated shows, they like to try and go for 4 or 5 seasons. I don't know with Bad Batch if that's the plan, but they certainly could do it. I mean, it's a good show to have in between your live action shows, right? I mean, you know.
Good. Sid may have a lot of missions for him.
Right. Sid could be back. I saw this on Twitter, how somebody was like, okay, so we need to have Woody Harrelson's character show up, and
Ted Danson,
and we need to have like obviously like in a prequel type situation, have them all show up at Sid's bar, and
isn't he dead?
Well, he is dead.
Yeah, that's right. No, the time period. Okay, that kind of matches up. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, and there was one other. And I can't believe I can't remember who the other. Oh, obviously, Ratzenberger. Have Major Durlin show up with
Star Wars throwback.
Yeah.
Please, Jay. Please get Ted Danson to voice someone in Sid's bar.
I mean, how has Ted Danson managed? I mean, he's got to be the only person that's managed not to be a voice in Star Wars at this point. I mean, he's, you know, Ted Danson's awesome. I love him.
He is great.
So let's do it. Let's jump in and look. A great season of television. I'm ready for next year. It'll probably, I mean, come out on the same time, I would think. I think they've been planning this for a while. I don't think they've.
I think so, and I think with everything else that's coming, because we're going to get Book of Boba Fett at the end of this year. Obviously, I believe. In fact, I saw something today, maybe that said that Obi-Wan shooting wrapped maybe in the last day or two.
Today was the last.
Principal photography, anyhow. And so I think we're on track for that next year sometime as well. So it has.
And you've got to think Andor's already wrapped also, because I think. I don't know if
it started before,
it'll be soon.
Yeah, it's got to be very soon.
It started right before, but relatively close. So there's a lot coming up. And so as much as it would be easy to say we might get this sooner because animation may or may not be done faster, I think with everything they have, they're going to take advantage of spreading it out, which I'm fine with.
Yeah. Oh, I'm totally fine with too. And it seems like that at least with the animated shows, they're not afraid to overlap with a Marvel show. I don't know if they would do that on live action. I really think that they'd probably plan that out differently. Although,
if they don't, then we're not getting Book of Boba Fett this year, unless it's coming in early November.
Yeah. You mean Book of Boba Fett? I thought it wasn't coming until December.
It's December.
Yeah. Well, that's my point. Is that Book of Boba Fett's coming in December, and Hawkeye's running through the entirety of the end of November to the end of December.
When does Hawkeye start?
November 24th.
Okay.
6 episodes, and that lasts until the end of the year.
They're running on different nights, though. I mean, they're going to be...
they're all on Wednesday.
They're all Wednesdays.
I was really hoping the Mandalorian shows would stick to Friday, but I guess maybe.
Yeah, I hope they'd leave Star Wars one and Marvel in another.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I got spoiled with having Loki on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I know. That does make you wonder, though, with Book of Boba Fett, if they are going to push that to January. I don't know. Who knows? But anyways, well, let's jump into What If. Speaking of Marvel, we will jump into What If, which I had a heck of a lot of fun with.
It was a lot of fun.
I will say one thing. You know, I recently watched all of these with my daughter. And so in her innocent, like 10-year-old mind, she's looking at the TV and she's saying, so wait, is all that they're doing like swapping the girl for the boy? And she was like, I liked the movie better. And I'm like, well, no, that's not what they're doing. That's not what they're necessarily doing.
Are they doing that? I mean, that's what I
no. I mean, because it's not, they didn't say this is Captain America.
Well, here's what I've heard. This is the only episode that actually takes a movie and does that.
Oh, really?
The rest are actually going to be jarringly different, apparently, from that approach.
Okay, that's cool.
And we have, if you didn't like that approach, I think you're going to like the next few episodes.
So. Yeah, and they actually have
animation. I thought it was the beautiful.
It was a great animation style.
Kind of an old 40s style, almost like the old Superman animation. Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if it changes based on episode, because that one, of course, was World War II,
right?
You know, with Steve Rogers and that whole deal. So if, like, what I was going to say is on IMDb, they don't have titles for the next two, but they have descriptions for the next two.
Yeah, I know what the next two are. Yeah.
Chadwick, I was going to say, the one for tomorrow is if Black Panther was picked up by Yondu.
Yeah,
and he becomes Star-Lord.
I think the literal title is "What if T'Challa became a Star-Lord?"
Okay,
a Star-Lord. Interesting, the way that they put not the Star-Lord, but a Star-Lord. And I think that's what they're going to title him. Like, what if Peggy Carter became Captain America? I think was what, or no, it said what if Peggy Carter became the first Avenger or something.
The first Avenger. Yes.
Yeah, they titled Captain Carter were the first Avenger.
Yeah. Yes. So they're not flat out saying, "Hey, this character is Captain America in this particular timeline." They're saying Captain Carter. It's a different
episode. 1.3 says, "What if Loki presented himself to the governments of Earth as king of Asgard using all of his diplomacy?"
See, I love that. I love that.
Here's what I understand about episode 3. Just I'll break this down for you. Yeah. It's based on Fury's Big Week, which is the comic they put out probably like 2010, 2011 that basically says that Thor, Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 2 all take place in the exact same week. And so Fury's running around during this whole time. And apparently this is going to be like a murder mystery twist on that week.
Oh, interesting.
So that's cool. That's
all right. So this is going to get good then.
Yeah. Well, no, I liked this first episode though. I mean,
I did too.
I had fun with it. It was very action packed.
Two things that stood out for me, obviously, and we knew this coming in, but I didn't even expect to this degree, like the voice cast. Like the voice cast is almost everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeffrey Wright, Haley Atwell, Sam Jackson, Renner, Tucci, Dominic Cooper, Ross Marquand back as Red Skull, Neil McDonough as Dum Dum Dugan, Sebastian Stan, Toby Jones, Daryl Hammond is an extra as the Nazi general.
Yeah.
And then all the way down at the bottom of this list with some other folks, Matthew Wood shows up. But then, of course, one of my favorites, and they had to kind of swap out the Tommy Lee Jones part, is as a huge West Wing guy, Bradley Whitford.
Well, and Whitford is a part of MCU canon. I don't know if everyone knows
Peggy Carter one-shot.
Yes. Not everyone watches the one-shots, but they're very important. And
I think so, too.
You should watch.
And I'm with Ross.
A great show.
You should
Neil
watch.
McDonough is fantastic, especially in Justified.
Yes, I love Neil McDonough as an actor.
Peggy Carter one shot, but you should also watch All Hail the King for a potential movie coming up.
Okay. All Hail the King. You need, and that's one thing that I made sure to do because you can kind of find them, sort of.
Some of them are on Disney Plus. Not all of them are.
I don't know. What is All Hail the King again? I'm sorry.
That's the one. Ben Kingsley.
It's the Trevor Slattery one.
When he's in prison, they go and interview him. It's very important for a movie that comes out in a couple weeks. Maybe. I'm just saying. Maybe
he was at the premiere.
That whole 10 Rings thing that we saw like 10 years ago.
Yeah, he was hanging out at the premiere. I mean, Ben Kingsley was at the premiere. I don't know if that's like telling us anything, but he was there. So
this comment is not relative to what we're talking about right now. But Ross said, "Nick, we need to talk West Wing more." I know that Josh Molina and Rishikesh Hirway just did West Wing Weekly, but I missed my opportunity to have a West Wing podcast because there is no TV show in my life that I've probably seen every episode of West Wing 25 times or more. Like, I love West Wing in a way it's hard to describe. It's my all-time favorite TV show.
I
so
can
Ross,
tell.
hit me up anytime.
Oh my goodness.
But coming back to coming back to Peggy, and What If and all that. The other thing that hit me personally, and this is, of course, very specific to me, as you mentioned, Michael, watching these movies with your daughter, I am in the middle of Heroes of the Mom CU with my wife and my daughters and watching all these movies. And I think she would really enjoy this. And we haven't gotten a chance. And I told the girls we need to do like a little quick add-on something one night and watch this and get her to watch it. Because for the most part, within the top one or two, that first Captain America movie is still one of her favorites.
Yeah.
And so I think she would really love, because she connected with Steve and Peggy. She connected with all the different parts of it. And so I really think she would have fun with this, even if she's not really an anime. I mean, we watch Disney movies, so of course she watches animation.
Yeah.
But I'm really intrigued to get the chance to show this to her as she's watching all the Marvel stuff with new, fresh eyes right now. and see what she thinks about it. That to me adds a fun little element for me very personally.
Maybe that's my only thing is I want people to see the original movie. Like I don't want there to get like dilution.
The confusion.
Now it sounds like they're going to go a lot of really neat directions, but
yeah.
I would want people to see the originals before they see the change ups, I guess.
I would imagine that a large
watch Marvel responsibly. That's all
I know, right? I would imagine that a large group of people that are watching this show have probably already seen all these movies.
This
isn't
about the younger generations. We don't need to start with this and then they,
Okay. No, I feel you. No, you're right. I mean, because
don't confuse your daughters.
That could
honestly, my daughters are so obsessed that last week when this first episode dropped and they were in the last dying days of their summer, I was at work. My wife had already gone back because she's a teacher and they had to go back the week before. So all the girls were home together by themselves. And I was at work and it occurred to me, I texted one of the big girls and I said, hey, pull up Disney Plus and watch the first episode of Marvel. And they called me, they're like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like they're in. But like, these are also the girls that walk around quoting Ragnarok and, all the other things. And I keep telling them, you have to stop because your mother hasn't seen that yet. Like I'm trying to protect her from the jokes. So when we watched Guardians last week, I was like, okay, we have leveled the embargo on like half of their inside jokes. The rest of them haven't gotten there yet. So my girls are good, but they're excited and they'll be excited. Well, they'll be at school tomorrow. So
they're good. They're good.
Yeah.
I know that one of your daughters is a huge fan of Captain America, just listening to the podcast.
Yes. So. My middle daughter, Ren, she is a huge Captain America fan.
So I'm sure she got a kick out of this.
In fact, if I don't get her a Captain America shield for Christmas, somebody's going to be on the S list. I'm just saying.
You heard it here first, folks.
One of the things I like that they did with this episode, first off, I have to give props to Josh Keaton, the guy who does the voice for Steve. I thought he did a really good job.
Oh, yeah. I think he did a great job.
Professional voice actor. And fun fact, for kids my age, he was the Spider-Man on like the defining Spider-Man cartoon when I was growing up, Spectacular Spider-Man.
Was that the one on MTV?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't know which one you were talking
that was the new animated series. That's the one you're talking about, which is also cel-shaded animation, but looks a lot worse than What If does. So
yeah.
I liked the way that this episode flowed. First off, bringing in Bradley Whitford was a great choice because he's in the MCU, and if you keep Tommy Lee Jones in place and you don't kill him off in the episode, which they did. He's a guy who has a lot of trust in Peggy. He would be totally fine with her taking the serum in that case and her being Captain Carter. Bradley Whitford, on the other hand, was going to be the obstacle, which there needed to be some sort of obstacle, in that realm at that time. So I thought that was a great move. I also love that no matter what happens on the timeline, Steve Rogers always makes an impact on World War II.
Is still a hero.
He's still there. He's in the suit that Howard makes. It's kind of a Iron Man -1.
So basically. Precursor, yeah. It's so good.
But also, he makes the difference, and he still gets the girl too.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't. He's right. Steve, but he still gets the girl.
Yeah.
I love that.
If there's one thing I can be disappointed about, honestly, it was that we got the reveal of Steve in that pre-Iron Man suit before the episode dropped because they used it as a trailer teaser or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was one of those that was just one of those great little moments where I would have been even more excited. I knew it was coming, so I was excited about it. But if you hadn't gotten that ahead of time, it would have just made you that much more happy.
Now, of course, it ends kind of tragically still for them.
Yeah.
Now, who voiced Howard Stark? Was it the original actor?
It's Dominic Cooper.
It's Dominic Cooper.
Dominic Cooper? Oh, that's awesome that they brought him back.
Yeah.
Okay.
From Captain America.
Before they switched over to Mad Men.
The slattery. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was cool seeing the story kind of from a different, angle.
It was interesting to see how much it changed too.
Yeah, it was interesting to see.
There was no tentacle monster in the first Avenger.
Right, Shumagorath.
which is what we're assuming is Shumagorath. Yeah.
We don't know.
Right. They didn't call it. Yeah, they didn't obviously
The
shout
angle
that
creatures or whatever they call them. There was some.
And in fairness, because we talked about that last week, and I'm not familiar enough with Shumagorath to really know, because y'all brought it up when that happened on screen. I was like, that's that thing. That's that thing they talked about last week. Like, it made me excited. So
tentacles.
I'm
Rhett
glad
likes
to have brought
those.
some excitement.
That's right. Exactly. That was all I thought. I was like, Rhett, tentacles.
Rhett likes tentacles.
But Rhett's brought it up in the chat when we were doing like WandaVision. I remember he brought up Shumagorath.
Yeah,
I was like,
I've
been hearing some rumblings about that being in the show, and then I saw tentacles in the trailer, and I was like, oh, I've got to bring this up last week. So, yeah. You talk about threads with Star Wars, though. I wonder if they're going to be some of those kinds of threads that we see with What If, like certain things that we know that didn't get resolved that maybe get resolved differently in another universe.
Awesome.
That's not anything I know about, but
that'd be an interesting thing to do, though. I mean, to tie them up in different ways, and
maybe that's just a short thing we see in some episode or something. But
like, and I like that they're not that they're like full. This was 26 minutes or something.
This was 32 minutes.
32, yeah. So I hope that they all are.
The story was super fast, though. It was like, man, we're just moving through.
It was because it's doing a whole movie in that chunk.
Yeah,
well, I'm hoping the next few episodes are paced better. But 32 minutes. This one that's coming out tonight at 3 a.m. if my time, 2 a.m. your time.
Who stayed up?
Is 33 minutes.
Not me.
Oh, okay, 33.
33 minutes, and then the third episode is 31 minutes. And that's
okay, so they're staying in that range. That's cool because. I don't want them to try and fit a movie in every time. Now, they might be trying to do that, but I mean, I don't know.
I would rather not always follow the beats of, you know what I mean? Like, so people go, oh, yeah, that's the scene. That was my only. I mean, I liked it, but I was like, I don't want every single one to be like that, which it doesn't seem like it's going to be that way.
And in that vein, I do like the part when she grabs Bucky on the train and he says, I almost lost my arm.
You almost ripped my arm off.
Yeah, I almost ripped my arm off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it was interesting because when we were watching that episode, or when I was watching it with my daughter, she was like, oh, I wonder if this means Steve Rogers is dead, because
Steve Rogers becomes the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, exactly. That's what she was
like.
I
started to go, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be an interesting twist.
Apparently, that was an entire idea for an episode they abandoned.
I
read in an interview with the director.
That'd be a fun way for them to close it out if they, secretly, hushed it away and whatever.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was glad he survived, although I don't really understand why he was on the floor. But again, rushing for time.
Right.
I was fine with
it. If they're trying to do that every episode, fit the whole movie in, I mean, but hopefully they won't do that every time. But...
I'm thinking they probably won't. As long as it's not.
I think this was just to kind of get you to understand, and now they're gonna.
Yep. Like here's a familiar story.
But then you got Roth here. He liked it.
He liked Roth is Roth is a weird creature.
He's a sentient being. He's not a creature, right?
That's right. That's right.
He's not like Dexter.
I wondered if someone would catch that. Yeah.
Well, and I like to.
I'm tracking.
And this is probably something that exists in a part of Marvel and comic books and things that I'm not as familiar with.
Yeah.
But I like the device of the Watcher, Jeffrey Wright, being that narrator up front.
Watu.
Yeah. And of course it has, a pseudo timekeeper overwatching, overseeing,
he's a comic book character.
Okay.
Yeah.
For somebody like me who's not as fully informed on all that, it was a fun way to go, okay, here's the person that says, I see all the things. Today I see this, tomorrow I see that, next week I see.
Yeah. And he's not allowed to interfere. But in the comics, he does eventually interfere when Galactus comes to town. And he tries to cover up Earth and make it so Galactus can't see it.
Well, you just spoiled the big ending of no.
Well, that's it. I'm not watching anything else. Thanks, Ryan.
Didn't we see some Watcher characters hanging out with Stan Lee at one point?
Yeah, that was
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And but they never did anything with that. They just happened to show them.
It was just sort of a
funny nod.
Yeah, just a nod. Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is, I'm really interested to see what they do with the rest of the show, because What If comics can be really dark. because nothing really matters in those universes. You don't have to keep characters alive. People quite often would just die in a lot of these comics because I think what they wanted to get across with some of these comics that I've read was that the main timeline is the best timeline.
Right.
Right. No, they wanted to make it seem like sort of jarring. And
what is it that they call it on Community? The bad timelines. What do they call that on Community?
Oh yeah, the dark timeline, or
the dark timeline, or the worst time. Yeah, I mean,
evil Abed and
evil Abed. Exactly.
Which reminds me of the old original Star Trek episode when they all had goatees, and it was the alternate versions of Kirk and Spock.
We'll just put on goatees and be evil.
That's right. Evil
or Garth Knight
or Bizarro Seinfeld. I mean,
Garth Knight with his goatee. So you can see that he's evil Michael Knight. He's Garth Knight.
That's right. That's all you need to know.
That's all you need. The goatee's all you need to show that, or
evil
some facial hair
does the job.
Yeah, I mean, and I know in the preview we see, because you were mentioning like the undead. I mean, we see like a zombie thing or something.
Zombie Avengers or something. Maybe?
Zombie Avengers.
Marvel Zombies.
Yeah, Marvel Zombie, which that is apparently very popular.
It was written by Robert.
Yes, correct.
That's very
keeping
true.
with our evil goatee.
Or
theme.
is it vice versa?
That's right. The little flavor saver that Chris Gaines had right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Fun fact: Marvel Zombies in the comics was written by Robert Kirkman, the eventual creator of Walking Dead.
Wow.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's impressive.
I think there is going to be an episode that has zombies. We saw Zombie Cap and Zombie Iron Man.
Right.
And there is a figure out there called Zombie Hunter Spider-Man. So I guess Spider-Man's hunting them down. It'll be I don't know how far away that episode is. So we'll see when we get to that.
10 episodes or
9?
9.
So
9 season 1 and 2.
9 times.
Initially, and here's the Kevin Feige quote: "I'm very happy that we're doing a What If series on Disney Plus right now. I've seen most of them. We have 10 episodes for season 1, and we're already working on the next 10 for season 2. Now, due to the pandemic, they announced recently that got cut down to 9 for both seasons. So
yeah,
it was originally 10.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, 9 for both seasons. Hey, that's a lot of episodes of What If.
Hey, animators can work from home. Let's get
what's up?
Well, get to work. Honestly, you say that kind of in jest, but like the voice actors, like this is voice acting, and we've seen even through the pandemic. Yeah, I joke about this all the time, just with my podcast. Like, I would have never been able to get the level of guests that I've gotten on my show if it weren't for what we've gone through in the last 18 months with the advent of Zoom. Skype existed before this, but like, it became so much more commonplace that I can have Mark Thompson in New York or Lauren Mary Kim, who was in the the Philippines or wherever. Like it makes the world smaller. So these people that are even doing the voice acting stuff, like they say, "Hey, we're going to send you a mic in a box. Go set it up in your closet. We're going to email you your sides and your parts." Like it does create an interesting element, especially for something that's voice acting, not the full on set in person, whatever. But
and that's true for the non-voice actors, but also voice actors quite often, like actual voice actors, have big studios at home.
Oh yeah,
I know Jack has a
especially if that's what they do all the time. No doubt.
Yeah. I've got a mic here. Not the one I'm using right now, an actual professional sounding mic that I use to record the news at home every night. I could go to the station. No one's there. I wouldn't really be at much risk, but it's just so much easier to use that mic. And I've been doing that pre-pandemic. So
yeah. I mean, the at-home stuff. Yeah. Well, I mean, and there was a lot of television shows that even did a lot of production work from home too. Right. I mean, they were saying that a lot of Mandalorian season 2 was done at these people's homes, like working, when they were doing obviously the effects stuff at
post-production,
post-production stuff,
computer work, that kind of stuff for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to say, before I forget to say it, I want to say that whoever the voice actor was for Red Skull was really good also.
It was Ross Marquand.
Who is he's not the Red Skull in the first Avenger, but he's the Red Skull in Infinity War and Endgame.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's the nephew of Richard Marquand.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yes.
I did.
He's related to the Marquand. Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
And if you've never looked up his YouTube videos where he does impressions, you need to do that as soon as we get done because he's phenomenal.
I'll look that up. Yeah, I never have looked that up before. That's pretty awesome. Loving that. That's right. News headlines from the G-Man. That's right.
What it says.
That's what he says. Yeah.
I did like hearing Armin Zola for his like one or two lines, and then the funny gag of "I'm not going to tell you anything," and he told me everything.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Toby Jones himself.
Yes. Yep.
It's amazing that these people are so, and obviously they're getting a paycheck or whatever, but some of them, it's just amazing that they're so willing to show up.
But it's not that big of a paycheck. If it's Toby Jones and it's, hey, we're going to give you, $1,000 or whatever.
Right.
He's in the middle
There's
of
still an effort involved. He wanted to do it.
Yeah. That's what's cool, is that he wanted to do it. That's why I'm kind of bummed that like Robert Downey Jr. wasn't a part of this, or Chris Evans.
It just may have been too big of a paycheck.
Oh yeah, they weren't willing to back up the Brinks truck for What If, basically is what that comes down to.
I think they'll back it up for animation, but yeah.
Well, and I still think, especially with Robert Downey Jr., with things that we presumably have in our future, whether it's Ironheart, whether it's we're going to get some more Robert Downey, Howard Stark somewhere down the line, whatever it looks like. Videos, flashbacks, preserved memory, something.
Oh, well, that's true.
But for this one,
he's a hologram in the Ironheart comics. I'm pretty sure, like
interesting.
So
and even there could be something in Spider-Man coming up. Like they have obviously that close. Again, same thing. Hologram.
You're going to enrage a lot of people if you say that.
Oh wow!
There are a lot of people who hate that relationship, but
that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah. Really?
Yes.
I thought it was great. Oh, you're talking like purists, I guess.
The Spider-Man purists don't want.
I just don't read the comics, and so I love it. I think it's awesome. I thought it was a relationship that worked really well in the films. But
it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not as bad as their relationship in Civil War. And I do like their movie relationship, but their relationship in the actual Civil War comic is a little awkward as Peter's like 30 and Tony is a father figure to him at like 40 or 50 in the comics.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah.
It's like Tracy Morgan and his adopted son who's older than him on 30 Rock.
Right, exactly. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up then. Obviously next week we will be back for What If episode 2, all about T'Challa as
a Star-Lord.
Not the, but a Star-Lord, which I like. So
spoiler alert.
My bad. Hey, it's on IMDb.
They put it out. They put that out in the trailer.
I know it's in the clips.
Yeah, it's in the clips. It's in the trailer. Yeah,
ruin the show, Michael. Thanks.
Well, and there was a new trailer that came out today for that, wasn't there?
Yes, that's what I'm referencing.
There was a clip.
That's
where it may be that they're not going to reveal much. It's going to be interesting to see.
This is true. Yeah,
it sounds like it sounds like they picked up the wrong kid. I think that's what the premise is going to be.
What if Rocket in this universe was actually a rabbit? Rabbit.
What if Rocket in this universe is Jackson from Star Wars?
Well,
I'll go for that.
Did you see the comments today about Rocketeer?
Rocketeer.
They wrote and drew Rocketeer in one of their stories, and Feige was like, "No, it looks awesome, but no,
too bad."
Well, they don't have the rights to Rocketeer. Disney made the film, but I think the guy's estate independently owns the rights to Rocketeer.
It is
right. It was a separate comic.
Yeah, it was. I've got some of the original comics of Rocketeer.
Really?
Yeah. I picked them up from Kingdom right before they did that. They shut down. They had a bunch of really old Rocketeer comics, so I was like, "Sure, I'll get them." I don't know; they're not worth anything because they were super cheap, but I got them anyways. Garrison, where can the people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at SUPASH3. You can find me on Letterboxd at GRyfin. You can find me tomorrow, maybe on a podcast.
Yes.
On the Deuce Cast movie
show.
We can find you there.
Depends on if Dave gets his act together and sends me the file.
Maybe another guest that gets pulled into the chaos of that.
Oh, no, don't be spoiling the
I said maybe another guest. I didn't say anything
What
else.
if there was another guest that got pulled into?
What if?
Unbeknownst to that person, got pulled into a podcast episode.
Yes.
Nick, where can people find you on the interweb?
Most of the easiest internet social places to find me is right there on the screen at Will's Pod, Podcast of the Wills, every Sunday night, live streamed 8 o'clock Central on Facebook and YouTube. Last week we had Adam Frazier, who writes for Slash Film. We had a ton of fun. We went like 2 hours.
Yeah, that was great.
Talking about horror movies and a bunch of other non-Star Warsy things. And then because he's a journalist, we counted down his top 7 rumors, controversies, and Star Wars theories. And we got into like Super Shadow and Kathy Kennedy and Sith Lord Jar Jar. Like, it was tons of fun. Craziness abounds. This Sunday, and this is a little bit pending, one way or another, Brian from Pink Milk will be on. But the plan is that we're going to do a crossover episode, which is going to be Brian and Tom from Pink Milk, and Nick and Laura, who is Nick's wife, who doesn't know anything about Star Wars. And we're going to do some like funny trivia, because the Pink Milk thing is Brian is a huge Star Wars fan, and Tom is forced to come along with him. So the plan is we're going to do a couples deal. But if that doesn't work out, Brian's still going to come on, and he and I are going to talk about something fun. So we've got that coming up this Sunday.
Cool.
And then, of course, Heroes of the Mom CU. We just did Guardians of the Galaxy this past weekend. And now that school has started and everybody has things to do, hopefully this next weekend we'll do Guardians 2. But those other episodes are all out there, and we'd love for people to check them out.
Yeah, because you guys are going chronologically.
We are in chronological. Yeah. That is correct.
Yeah. That's an
and this one
distinction.
That's right. Well, and this one was interesting, just to tease this one little bit. I love Guardians 1. It's a lot of fun. I do kind of agree it drags in the middle. Like, the beginning is fun, the end is fun. But for my wife, who is so unfamiliar to all of this, this was the first movie since we started this that doesn't have a Cap or an Iron Man or somebody she knows. Like, this is the first movie where it was completely 100% brand new people, and it was very spacey. So it was a little bit of a challenge for her, but she's a plant lady, so she loved Groot. You know, Chris Pratt, of course, is hot with his abs and the whole deal.
Of course.
So she found her way through it, but it was, and as she said, even on the show, she was like, I mean, I'm assuming at some point I'm going to figure out how they all connect together, and it's probably that purple stone they were chasing. And I'm going, she's got it already. We're going to got it.
Exactly. That's good. And it's good when you're doing it chronologically. It's good that you immediately get to watch Guardians 2 right after. I mean, that makes
happens
pretty big difference from that standpoint. So, Dr. Earl, we know you're off the grid, but you can occasionally be found on the Deucecast Discord, right?
He has his own corner.
I have a little corner, the pretentious corner. I never go there very frequently, but
it's so pretentious that you stay out of it. Like, the pretentious level is so high that
I would never want to be part of a club that would allow me
exactly.
That quote from Groucho Marx.
That is the most pretentious thing ever, Dr. Earl. I'm
saving lives
from Groucho Marx. That's the first and last time we'll ever hear anything like that said on any Deucecast. Aside from that's good stuff.
Kenny Riffin's like, I don't know who that is. What's
the Marx Brothers?
No, you know Groucho Marx.
Yeah, everybody knows who Groucho Marx is.
I don't know if he said that actually. Maybe somebody else.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we obviously release the Deucecast movie show every Wednesday, and as Rifen alluded to, there is a really fun episode coming out tomorrow that really goes off the rails in so many fun ways.
Dr. Earl threatened to leave us. I mean,
there was a point where Dr. Earl was like, I'm walking. He's like, I've got a heart out. I'm super important.
It was running along. It was a long show. So
it was off the rails.
But it was a fun show. It was a fun show. I will say that.
But this is our YouTube realm, and with YouTube, it's important if you guys will please share this episode with your friends. We need subscribers.
Smash the button.
We've got to get some more subscribers to get us to a point where we at least can have an actual good web address that we can point people to. But at the same time, liking the video, commenting, sharing, turn those notifications on, all that fun stuff that the kids say.
Mash the bell.
It looks like Nick had to take off, which is fine. We will let Nick take off. I don't know what happened to him.
He might have just lost.
Yeah, he might have lost his signal.
It's Hurricane Fred or whatever that is.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Tropical Storm Fred. I guess it
exactly. But like I said, we will definitely be back next week talking about What If episode 2. That's right. Hey, I would look, if this is what you have to do, open up a bunch of other Gmail accounts to get us to 100. I'm with Roth. Let's all do that. Let's join in any different way that we can. So I will definitely be excited about more Chadwick Boseman. That's going to be great.
And they have confirmed 4 episodes for him.
That's exciting. That's really cool.
It's actually his voice.
It's actually his. He did all this before he passed away.
He apparently was very eager to do it and was really excited about the character.
Yeah. Cool. So very fun to get to hear Chadwick Boseman doing this character that we all really came to love. So I really appreciate everybody watching, and we will definitely be back next week for What If episode 2. Everybody have a great evening.